I've got the AC running right behind me, a fan over my head, probably clicking about a pull chain, but let's get into this one. I'm gonna do something quite a bit different than what I normally do. Next race video is probably gonna be about dwarves, but this time I'm gonna talk about my first character, a dwarf fighter, Whurbera Ironwill. I actually screwed up with the naming thing and accidentally gave him a surname as a first name, but I stuck with it, because when I ended up saying his name, I tried to translate it as well, so he heard Whurbera Ironwill as both names, first name and surname. So in Dwarven, his name would be Whurbera, which I later revealed isn't actually his name. It's actually a common thing I do. Seriously, I made multiple characters who each use false names. Charlatan is one of my favorite 5e backgrounds. Whurbera, Medic Soul, a Warforged Cleric. Katir, a Khajiit in an Elder Scrolls setting game. It's common with me. But the group ran into Whurbera in a really odd way for most D&D games. The setting was Eberron, and they were traveling via a wind spell thing? I don't really know. Something with a centaur that wanted to play a joke on our barbarian Utov and made him climb a mountain? I don't know. This was my first game. I was barely understanding what was going on. But in their travels, they were attacked by a juvenile green dragon and knocked them into a river below, being swept in the current and brought into an underground cave. When the party came to, they were met by a dwarf in breastplate carrying 2 shields, trying to take care of them, making sure they didn't die. First one to wake up was one of the 3 brothers, a paladin named Lorcan. Whurbera introduced himself, mentioned why he was in the cave. He was ambushed by the dragon and forced underwater, being pulled into the cave by the same way, not that long before them. Only 2 of the party had dark vision, Whurbera and Utov, a half-orc barbarian of the dragon-marked house Thrashk, having the least dragon mark of finding. I don't think he actually ever used that dragon mark, come to think of it. I pointed out that there was a door at part of the cave, which enclosed them in there since they couldn't really swim back out the way they came with, the armor check penalties of 3 of us being in medium armor, 3 or 4, can't remember what rangers were. And also the current. So the door was really our only way in. Out, however. Luckily, one of the 3 brothers, was a sorcerer and knew Draconic. And Draconic was the markings around the door. Sorcerer took a quick look, understood the riddle, opened the door, yada yada, we walk in, and boom, we're met with a huge, well, not a huge horde, we're met with the dragon's horde. This was a pretty young dragon, so, the horde wasn't exactly anything to gawk at. The dragon was only about the size of a horse. But, when we opened it up, we took a quick look around. Our paladin ended up noticing 2 Kyber shards. Now, for those that don't know, Kyber shards are crystals from a very deep underground of Eberron, place called Kyber, said to be made from the body and blood of the progenitor dragon, Kyber. The crystals there, which is essentially Eberron Hell, are used to store creatures for various purposes. Most common used in skyships and lightning rails. They hold elementals to keep the ships moving. Basically, all you gotta do is strike a deal with them, and most of them are pretty willing to have deals struck because, hey, they want to use their powers, and they don't want to get killed by adventurers, so best place. Lorcan, the paladin of the Silver Flame, believing that growth in a person can come from growth and wealth, he reached for the crystals. His brother, the sorcerer, ended up noticing, hey, there's some arcane energy coming from those crystals, and pointed out that those crystals were definitely already holding something, but it was a little bit too late. From the shard came a devil demon. Look, it was like 6 years ago. I'm looking over the list of devils. I want to say it was a chain devil, but I can't remember. And looking at their stat block, it doesn't exactly seem right, given that's a CR6. We were level 8. They have an AC of 20, no shields. But I suppose it's possible that the DM ended up changing the stat block like what I do. Hell, I ended up asking him what they were, and he said he can't remember because of how long ago it was, but he'll look over his notes, see if he can find it. I'm hoping he does, but I'm not giving any hope for it. Anywho, I'm gonna call them devils. This devil ended up looking at the other crystal, giving it a quick tap, and out came another one, each one with big old tower shields and big old... I want to say it was a war axe? Might have been an Urgosh, though. I don't know. Anywho, so we end up rolling for initiative. Whurbera, I got 3rd, I think, on initiative. I had a pretty good dex score, but at that point I didn't know that the maximum dexterity bonus also applies to initiative. I'm still not 100% sure if it does that, but nobody ever questioned me, so whatever. I obviously went behind the ranger, Ryan, which is spelled Ryin, and I spent a few years thinking it was pronounced Ryan. But also the barbarian, Utov, went before me. Ryan shot a rapid shot volley of arrows, and he didn't hit anything. Rapid shot feat, which rangers get for free if they decide to take the archery combat style. They end up letting you shoot 1 extra arrow in a round. At level 8, he had a BAB of +8 and +3, so he could attack 3 times with rapid shot. But rapid shot gives a -2 on the second arrow and a -4 on the third arrow, and once you get higher in BAB, that keeps on stacking, -2 with each subsequent thing. So he got a +8 BAB plus his dexterity score, since we make weapon finesse a base level thing for all characters, similar to how 5e does it. Then he got a +3 on his BAB, -2, then add another dexterity score. On the third shot, it was -4, so basically 4 BAB plus dexterity. This would become a running joke where he just wouldn't hit anything, and we would joke that his arrows break the laws of physics just to not hit things. Now, Utov went into the fray next, not yet raging because he knew we were in a dragon's den and would probably need to fight the dragon. Which we did! But that player missed that game, so his sacrifice wasn't necessary. But he started going ham on the first devil, swinging his greatsword with precision ferocity. Utov had a 6 in intelligence, but an 18 in strength. Every single swing of his sword was going to eat the damage reduction of these devils, then cut into them hard. Next was my turn. I quickly tumbled between the two, heavy steel shield in my offhand and a dwarven buckler axe in my main hand. Tripped one devil with a barely successful trip attempt, then swung the buckler axe into the still standing devil, trying to take its legs out so it couldn't maneuver anymore. Our paladin looked at the prone devil, and with the power of God and heaven's light, came down with fury and a divine smite! Now, in 3.5, Smite Evil lets you add your charisma modifier to your attack rolls, and add your paladin level to your damage. We were level 8. On top of a longsword and a 16 strength, this thing took like 10 extra damage from that holy weapon, and its DR was completely ignored. Lorcan alone probably could have handled these two monstrosities by himself. Next came our sorcerer. This was his first campaign, and his real brothers dragged him into it. 3 characters they played were also brothers, though their races were weird. 2 of them were shifters, like their father, and the sorcerer was human, like their mother. He looked over his spell list and decided to go with a very simple but very eloquent spell. Magic Missile. Magic Missile always hits the target unless it's affected by, like, the spell Shield or something similar. So he rolled up the damage, 4d4 plus 1 point of force damage, ignoring armor of any sort. He shot, and all 5 of his dice hit maximum damage. That's 17 points of damage. The devil was looking bad. Seeing his ally killed and sent back home and realizing he wasn't going to win this, but he was going to try and take one of us out with him. Specifically me. This thing swung its weapon down on me, blocking it with a shield, though I admit I screwed this up because I shouldn't have gotten my shield bonus after attacking with it the previous round. It swung again, Whurbera dodging out of the way. Ryan knocked an arrow, drew back, and punctured the thing's skull. It disappeared, and the 2 Kyber shards shattered, their magics being drained. We took a look around for anything that might be useful. I remember a wand and a map, and that's about it. On the map was marked a nearby town with a name on it. Doing a history check, the name had the conventions of a blue dragon. This map also marked some treasures, which we later got our hands on. Most of the hoard wasn't really worth carrying. We didn't need the money, though we got a lot of it. But most of the items were treasure pieces. Nothing greatly special. We just didn't want to carry a marble statue of a dwarf the size of our half-orc barbarian, so we left it behind. Maybe we'd pay some band to carry all that shit later, but in all honesty, we never thought about the underwater cave again. Now, that's where we ended my first session. I remember rolling search checks to look through the hoard to try and find any shields. Whurbera was trying to pay off his family debts by trying to find a mythical shield he may or may not have made up himself. A shield made of terrace scales that can reflect spells back at the caster. So he looked around the hoard and found no shields. In the campaign that followed this one up, I still played Whurbera, and when I mentioned to the DM that I wanted to change characters, he set it up so I wouldn't want to anymore. But I'm gonna end this video here, and I don't know when I'm gonna talk about the dragon fight. Maybe in a month or so? Actually, probably longer than that, after I finish the PHB races, maybe? We'll see, so shove off.